Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. As I remember while Apparauji was asking a question last week, I was telling him that when the conversation of this Gita is not between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, in fact, you can replace the name Bharata with your name there. It's as if the Lord is addressing each one of us personally, and it's very much applicable. It's a very practical message in this verse, very, very practical message. Each of us can take it as an applied philosophy and work on it. Now, the message here is Arjuna, another name is Bharata. So he says, oh Bharata, by the delusion of the pairs of opposites, Dvandva Mohena. Dvandva is the opposites, Mohena is the delusion. So the delusion arising because of the pairs of opposites. Now, why is the delusion of the pairs of opposites? It is arising from Ichha Dvesha Samuthena. Samuthena means arising from Ichha, desire, Dvesha, aversion. So Ichha Dvesha Samuthena Dvandva Mohena Bharata. So word to word, if you split, you will get the meaning. Sarva Bhutani Sammoham, all beings are subjected to illusion. Sammoham. Sarge Yanti Parantapa. Oh Parantapa, another name for Arjuna. Oh Bharata, oh Parantapa. At birth, Sarge Yanti. They are all beings are subjected to illusion at birth. Now, when you see in one verse, he using two pronouns in addressing Arjuna. So what it only conveys is that endearment, the love and affection the Lord had for Arjuna, his dear friend. So he can't contain his love to him, so he is addressing him. Now, whenever this is an expression of love. Now, when there's an expression of hatred, how does that express? I can't use those words in this classroom, especially when you have a fight and you have that emotion. And how do you convey that emotion? How do you address the other? You don't address that person as, let's say, if I'm having a fight with Reddy Garu, impossible to have a fight with him. He's so sweet, I can't have a fight with him. But let's say if I'm having a fight with Reddy Garu, I will not be addressing Mr. or Sri Reddy Garu. This is what you did, and I'm angry at it. And every time I have to address him, I will not be using his name, would I? What I would be using, I said, I will leave to your imagination. So all that unparliamentary words, all the vocabulary which you are so well versed, it become very poetic. You can't contain that emotion. So whether the emotion be positive or be negative, you use these various pronouns to express it. So you only, apart from the message, by the sheer fact that he addresses throughout the Gita, he addresses, in fact, Arjuna is addressed through various names, and Arjuna also addresses Krishna as various names, with various pronouns. So it is, in fact, if any one of you are interested, you should go through the text of 700 verses, 18 chapters, and write the pronouns of Arjuna and the pronouns of Krishna. Just for the heck of it. That way you will read the whole Gita, no? At a glance. Nobody is volunteering. Look at this, Sanjay. I have told you, nobody is raising hands. Huh? In the mind, they're telling Guruji, you better do it and give it to us. Please give a list. You can send it as a PDF, also is fine. If you send WhatsApp, also is the best. Actually, email is perfect. I know what's going in your minds. All right. Now the verse is saying, O Bharata, by the delusion of the pairs of opposites arising from desire and aversion. So what he's suggesting here, every human, right from birth, every one of us, no exception, are subjected to two things, are subjected to delusion, which he calls as moha, and sammoham as illusion. So the fact that he uses two different words, there's a different implication. So all of us are subjected to through delusion, which creates an illusion. So the delusion is the cause and the illusion is the effect. You would not be wrong to think that way. Now, you may not use this as a general equation, but in the context, I'm saying the delusion is the cause, the illusion is the effect. Now, what is the cause of delusion? How does the delusion arise? The delusion arises because of the non-cognition of yourself. You don't cognize. You do not realize yourself to be yourself. You do not realize the paripurna, the nature of fullness, which is the nature of yourself. So there is that non-cognition or the ignorance of yourself, ignorance of your fullness, instantly creates an imaginary void. You have to put it in a mathematical step by step. The question is, what is the cause of delusion? The first step is non-cognition of your paripurna, of yourself. Your real self, your real nature is full, paripurna, purnams, whole. I do not know that. You do not know that. You may know as information. I also know as information, but that's no good. You have not experienced that fullness. Neither have I. So when you are ignorant of your fullness, that ignorance of your fullness creates an imaginary void. And that imaginary void creates a thought flow. And the thought flow is defined as what is the thought flow defined in the verse? Gayatri Ma, please put the verse on the screen again. And I want Pushpa Ma to answer the question.
So these, first of all,
you can't get all the help of Lord Krishna with you. You think you have Lord Krishna next to you and then you sit with the Gita class? Nobody has Lord Krishna with them. Even I also don't have Lord Krishna with me. You all have seen she has got a beautiful
Thank you.
Sculpture of Lord Krishna.
So first of all, I think, Guruji, understanding duality is a good starting point.
No.
And
let's not start with duality.
So you
that will be the second of all.
Pushpama,
that will be the second. That will be the second of all. First of all, we want to clarify regarding delusion. What did you capture?
Delusion is because of the desires only, I think. Moha is delusion, you told, no? So
what we have said so far, we said delusion arises because of non-cognition of yourself, which is paripurna.
Yes.
Did you take note of that?
Yes. Non-recognition of the self.
Non-recognition of the self. Correct. Perfect. That non-recognition of the self creates an imaginary void.
Yes.
The imaginary void expresses as thoughts. Thought flow. Now the question is, which is the term in the verse that talks of the thought flow? Screen chudichima. In the screen.
I'm looking at my book, like,
okay.
So
your book has all the answers. That's the problem. I don't want you to look at your book.
No, same thing, only in Telugu, that's why. And you're asking what is the cause of this void?
No. What is the term used in the verse for the thought flow?
I think it is due to thought process leads to the confusion, and confusion is due to the ignorance and conflict of ideas.
Ledama. I think మీరు నా question అర్థం చేసుకోవట్లేదు.
Okay.
The question I'm asking is, what is the term in the verse for thought flow? The word for the, thanks Gayatri Ma. The word for the thought flow is ichha. The very verse starts with the word ichha dvesha. So the word ichha means a desire. So because desire is defined as nothing but a stream of thoughts from you to an object or being. That's a desire. Kadama.
Okay.
No, I'm only trying to connect the message to what the verse is saying. I'm only going step by step. Delusion arises because of non-cognition, non-recognition of yourself. So the moment you recognize yourself, there's no void. The moment there's no void, there's no desire. Now, since none of us have recognized the self, there is a void, and then there is a thought flow. All right. Thanks, Ma. Okay. Now, Venkatramji. Now, when there is a thought flow, what happens? Yes, sir. I know. I just want to. I know very sweetly you wished with a smile. Also, I should not be saying it, but we should. We all during the beginning of the class, I did namaskaram and I wished you all. I suppose you wished me. Did you all wish me then? Okay. Thank you. So we will leave the wishes and the greetings in the beginning, and the moment we just get on directly to the context. Venkatramji.
Yes.
The question is, when the desire flows, what is the possibility that the verse is talking about?
The possibility is that there will be a desire, but there might be an aversion.
Correct. What is that?
Aversion is dvesha.
Aversion is
Dvesha.
Dvesha. And what is Dvesha?
Dvesha is some kind of, how do I express it in English? You crave for something, you don't get it, then you start probably not exactly regretting, but you might develop some bit of an animosity or a negativity around it, or something like that. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not able to express it in the right words.
No, you have used more powerful words.
So that
what
is
powerful. What's the word you used?
I mean, you might develop some bit of an aversion, or I don't know, maybe regret or some kind of a dissatisfaction. You have a desire and then you are not able to get it for whatever reasons. You might then start lamenting or become negative around it.
Correct. So yes, the desire, when the thought flows, it develops into dvesha. Dvesha is aversion. Aversion means it is, in fact, an aversion is a modification of desire itself. It is anger, hatred, a certain amount of unpleasantness, leading up to animosity, hatred.
Yeah.
You curse that person or situation you are in. Why the hell did I get into it? How have I got into it? This is not possible. Why is it happening to me again and again? This is not right. You become violent. So now, are we able to connect the dots? So what, the thought flow, sir, can you repeat what we have said so far? Delusion.
Desire, delusion.
No. Starting from delusion, because what's the cause of delusion?
Non-cognition of oneself.
Yes.
Leading to creating an imaginary void.
Yes.
That imaginary void translates into a thought flow, which might be Ichcha and Dvesha, or desire and delusion.
Right. Now, before I get further, have you ever thought, why are we qualifying the void as imaginary?
The void might be, because probably, because of the desire itself, or the void is because we are not having confidence on ourselves, or we are not being paripurna, as what you have said. So that leads to an imaginary void in our life.
Now, sir, when you're hitting the hammer on the nail, you want to hit it on the head, isn't it, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, you're not hitting on the head, sir.
Okay.
The question is, what's the question?
Why is the void called an imaginary void?
Why is the void called imaginary? It is called imaginary because it is unreal. If that is a reality, then we will say there is a void.
Okay.
But is the void imaginary to you? No.
No, for us it is.
Your void is not imaginary. Your desire is not imaginary. The hatred is not imaginary, isn't it? So what is happening? Listen carefully. What is happening? You have made something which is unreal real, and something which is real unreal. Are you all with me? It just baffles me how this thought has come to me right now, the way I'm capturing. I have not captured it this way myself ever. Therefore, I said, please listen carefully. I myself listening for the first time. What we have done, we have made what is unreal real, and real as unreal. And that is, Gayatri Ma, put the verse back again. Venkatramji, what is that word which conveys that which is made, which is real, you have made unreal. That which is unreal, you have made real. What is that word that conveys it?
The pairs of opposites, are we saying, or delusion?
Sir, you are lost. You lost, sir. You lost your points. Wrong answer.
Okay. Desire and aversion then?
How many chances you want?
So,
Once
I'm okay,
you
I
get-
surrender.
Once you get out, you can't go to the empire, sir. Please give me one more chance. You can't go back. No? And the you're pleading. No. Second time also out, sir. Now, by answering those two, now you have not left much choice for others to answer now. Now, what is that? Okay, let me ask Subhash Gulati ji. Subhash ji, boliye, sir. That which is unreal, you made it real. Sir, you have to please unmute
the
yourself.
word Dvand says Ichcha and Dveshka when there is a Samuthain, means when they are fighting, Ichcha and Dvesh when they are fighting, that Dvand starts.
Sir, the question is, I'm repeating the question. When I was asking, why is the void said imaginary? So the word void imaginary, it's not for you and me. It is for the great masters, isn't it? From their point of view, void is imaginary, but for you and I, it is real.
Yeah.
So what is that word which conveys that? In the verse, please read see the screen, sir. You have do you see the text? What is the verse what is the word in the verse which conveys that?
Ichcha, Dvesh, Samuthain?
No, sir. All right, no problem. No problem. All right. Who wants to give it a guess? Apara Garu. When you see something unreal, you make it real. I've already given the cue. It's very easy. And what is real, you make it unreal.
Namaskaram, Guruji.
No, from now on, I will stop greeting you all. You people want to greet me, you can chant the national anthem also you want. I will not say anything. But
So,
again, Apara Garu, you are smiling and greeting me, sir. So I don't know what to say, sir.
not having the full knowledge and that which is leading to delusion. The delusion is making you to think, misunderstanding the various misunderstanding. So what is happening is you're assuming the reality as unreal and unreality as real. So it is basically not having the complete knowledge, or that is the reason I'm thinking that the delusion is actually creating you to wrongly understand something real, unreal. The delusion is the word I am thinking.
Right. Okay. No, you're not wrong. But if you go back to what I said first, when I first started explaining, I said delusion is the cause, illusion is the effect. Did I not say that?
Yes.
So the word which conveys unreal to be real, real to be unreal is the word illusion. So when you are in illusion, you don't see the reality, isn't it? That's illusion. Am I right? Thanks, Ma.
So
when you are in a state of illusion, you don't see the real object, isn't it? Like when a boy sees a rope where there's a snake, he's an illusion. When you see water on the tarmac, when you're driving on a hot sunny day in the mid-afternoon, you see water ahead of you. That's illusion, isn't it? There is no water there. So you see something which is not to be seen. Now you are experiencing a life full of void, full of desires and aversions. This is the illusion you and I are caught up in. Whereas the reality is yourself, which is paripurna. So the delusion is the cause, the illusion is the effect. So what I have explained thus far justifies what I've said. Illusion is the cause, delusion the cause, illusion is the effect. It just justifies. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to say that. How do I say that? This establishes, the argument establishes. And I have not yet come to the context of the verse. I have not yet explained what puts us through this delusion. As I said, it's a mathematical step, but the equation is not complete. I have not used the word, Rajima. What is it I have not used so far? Oi, you should know. What have I not used so far? In mathematical equation, when you conclude, what do you use?
QED.
Oi, when you...
QED, that means it's been proven.
Tasmat, therefore. My favorite word, you know, no? Adhikaga kekra, JM. Correct, Dana Gayatri ma. ரொம்ப நாள் எடுத்து உட்கார்ந்துட்டு அதுக்காக மறந்துட்டாங்க. பரவாயில்ல. So when you use a mathematical equation, you conclude with therefore. I have not come to the therefore stage in midway during the equation. Okay, right, fair enough. So far so good. Aparagaru, you had something to ask, sir?
No, sir. Thank you.
All okay?
Yep.
Right. So delusion, the cause. What is delusion? Delusion arises because of non-cognition of yourself. The non-cognition of yourself creates an imaginary void, and the imaginary void within generates thoughts. So your thought flow goes towards an object or being to fill the void that's felt within. That's the definition of a desire. And wherever there is a desire, there is bound to be a modification into an aversion, dvesha. There is bound to be an anger, which is nothing but a disappointment because of your desire not having met. It's just a common, obvious consequence. When I like something, when I desire something, it's not necessary it should be met, isn't it? So that dvesha, so the raga and dvesha, ichcha, dvesha are born. Where are they born? They are born, Reddigaru. Where are likes and dislikes, desires and hatred, where are they born?
The mind.
All right, they are born within.
Yes.
When are they born?
When we took a birth.
Correct. Right from your young age, you have been
growing,
creating and feeding your own desires and likes and dislikes, raga, dvesha. And if a person operates on likes and dislikes, desires and aversions, what does he meet in the world? You go out into the world with your likes and dislikes, isn't it, sir?
Yes, yes, good.
What is it in the world that you meet?
Body of hearts, your it's again we are mentioning about the desires. We go into the body of hearts.
You are going into the world with your likes and dislikes.
Likes and dislikes.
Am I right?
Yes.
You have been carrying them from a long time, from the very birth, as you rightly said. So when you go out into the world with these likes and dislikes, my question is, what do you meet in the world? What does the world present itself to you as?
The raga dvesha will be coming across because of these.
That is why I asked you first. Where is raga dvesha? Where did you say? In the mind, within me,
the mind,
isn't it?
Right.
Now
yes.
My question is, I take with me my likes and dislikes into the world. What do I meet? I meet the world of dvandvas. Yes. I meet the world of opposites.
So what I like, the world may be disliking. What the world dislike.
What I like, the world will not satisfy what you like.
Yes. Yes, understood.
You get what I'm saying, sir?
Yes,
Huh?
yes.
I go into the world with likes and dislikes, with a clear bundle of likes and dislikes, and the world is not going to satisfy
Yes.
those likes and dislikes, because the world is not designed to satisfy every whim and fancy of you, isn't it?
Yes.
And that, what does it cause? That causes delusion, that causes illusion, which you and I, all of us are caught up in. My God, I have just decoded it.
Yes.
I have just hair split it and put it in a thought pattern. If you know what we have got into, I said, oh my God, what have I got into, and what am I making a mess of my life? My life is in a total mess. I'm inflicted with this desire and hatred. And I am caught up. And I interact with the world, every experience based on my likes and dislikes, and the world is not going to satisfy me. When the world satisfies me, I'm elated. When the world doesn't satisfy me, I'm dejected. Now, sir, what is the possibility, sir? How many times the world satisfies you? How many times the world dissatisfies you?
So every moment to moment is a limitless challenge. So can we not be neutral, Guruji, to get out of this challenge?
That is where a Mahatma is. The next mantra he says, a wise man, he freed himself from the pairs of opposites. He is liberated himself from the delusion and illusion. And here he is talking how majority of us are caught up in it. He is describing where we are now, what we are being subjected to.
Yes.
Isn't
yes,
it, sir?
yes, yes, Guruji.
It's staggering. If you just break it down, it's staggering.
That's true.
And throughout the text, in fact, please take a note, sir. All of you, please. In the Gita, so far, we are in the 7th chapter. Throughout the Gita till now, in the rest of the text, you will find the Shastras in general, specifically Gita in particular, has been constantly portraying your own likes and dislikes as your own enemies.
Yes.
If you wake up every morning and tell yourself that I am my own enemy, that day will go very well for you. The moment you get up, you tell my own likes and dislikes are destroying me, you will be very peaceful and happy. So in the 2nd chapter of the Gita, it talks of the 62nd and 63rd verse, the ladder of fall. There also it talks about the thought, the sankalpa that causes the problem. Chapter 3, I'm just giving quick references. Chapter 2, 62 and 63, the famous ladder of fall. Chapter 3, verses 34, 37 and 40. The terms he uses there, he calls them as paripanthinau. Paripanthinau, which means enemies. Vairinam, Nitya Vairinam, constant foe. Chapter 3, 34, 37, 40. And this constant foe of yours, he says, it veils your wisdom and deludes you. So what is it that veils your wisdom? Veil means it covers your wisdom. It is your own likes and dislikes. In the 4th chapter, the 22nd and 23rd verse, it talks of the dvandva atita. You got to go beyond the opposites. In the chapter 6, he talks in the 7th verse. In the 7th chapter, the 27th verse. These are the quick references to the verses where the Shastras have highlighted to a point of fault that your own desires, your own mind, your own likes and dislikes are your enemies. But sadly, we are not taught this, we are not told this. So our own well-wishers, our own benefactors are constantly, what are they doing? They are constantly feeding and pampering and catering to your likes and dislikes. Tomorrow, when your child or grandchild sits at the dining table and there is lady's finger and brinjal, two vegetable cooked, lovely dishes prepared, the whole family likes. But this your grandchild says, I don't like brinjal, nor do I like lady's finger. I don't want to eat. What will happen? The mother will say, shut up and eat. There's nothing else you're getting. Eat that. Then what will happen? The grandmother will say, hey, don't shout all the time. Why are you shouting at the kid? Oh, small Colombo, why are you pushing her? What do you want, beta? Oh, you want that? Okay, I'll make it for you. Give me 5 minutes. This is how you have started destroying yourself by building a monster within you. A monster. Badriji, what is a monster I'm talking about?
Unsatisfied desires. That is the monster.
Why are you qualifying it?
Because the only desire that your classes have taught me to have is the desire for realization. So any other desire is bound to be unsatisfied. You will never feel paripurna. The world will not cater to those. It might cater partly, it will never cater to fully. And even if it caters fully, it won't cater always fully. So at a point in time, it might cater fully, but over a period of time, it will not. So therefore, all outward desires are by definition not going to be paripurna.
Absolutely right. It is not going to satisfy you. It's going to be an eternal problem. Because the world is not in your fingertips. It's not that the world and the objects and beings in the world are puppets and you're not a puppeteer controlling them, are you? Am I the puppeteer controlling the things and beings in the world? No. So they have their own tune and music, and you want to find a compatibility between you and the world, and there is no compatibility. And that lack of compatibility creates that.
The other thing you taught is that you have to assess the world the way it is and set your expectations accordingly. If you have these desires, you will never assess the world the way it is. You will assess the world the way you think it is. Through your
20, Gayatri 28. I have nothing more to say because Badriji has given the Upanishadic declaration, he's given the answer, solution. He's saying chapter close, samapt, move on, he's saying. Sir, I'm
just saying
what is it? What is this you have done, sir? Huh? I've told Rajima, I have not used the word therefore. Before I use the therefore, you said chapter close, move on. What is this? Huh?
I'm just echoing what you have taught. That's it.
We all so much wisdom is there you can't contain within you. It's all flowing out, you know. No, you're absolutely right. In fact, this is what the knowledge teaches us, that you got to take a step back and learn to intervene, try to deal with the monster. The monster is the mind, isn't it? The mind and its desires and expectations. And we got to start prima facie with the thought that the world is not going to satisfy me. So it's from the best way to deal with the world is to take a stock of what the world is and learn to adapt myself to it. So you are actually the first and the foremost step you are taking is you are challenging your own likes and dislikes. You're questioning your own desires and expectations. It's not what I want, it's what the world is. But the problem is we are not bothered, nor are we trained, as Badriji said, to take a stock and assessment of what the world is. This is what you're saying, Badriji, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are not taught. Are we taught this? We're not taught this. So it's all the time what I want, what my likes and dislikes, what my demands are, what my needs are, what my life is. And that creates havoc. Your life is completely destroyed. Even before you have built it, is destroyed. Because the monster within is not addressed. You don't have the capacity to address the monster. It's a very delicate situation life is balancing on. And it's very precarious. If you look at it the way he's put it and we analyze it this way, the best of lives of people is in shambles, is just about managing. Because you don't know how to, we talk about that art of right relationship with the world. We use example in corporate workshops. It is not what you relate to, but how you relate to it. And we give the example, remember? We give the example of how do you sharpen a blunt knife on a rough surface. You need a rough surface to sharpen your blunt knife. Thanks, Badriji. You need a blunt surface, a rough surface to sharpen a blunt knife. Like you have this rugged stone, and these people they come on a bicycle and they sharpen the knife in a couple of minutes. It's just that art of right contact of that blade onto that rough surface. He gives you a sharp knife or a gardening tool. He gives you in a couple of minutes. It's good enough to last you for another month or two. Again, he'll come back around and again sharpen it for you. But you need a rough surface. You need the rough world which is not designed to you, but you need to know how to handle the monster within to find peace and happiness, to find success and growth within. But if you don't know, it's like a person who doesn't know to enjoy the rough seas. He comes out with, what do you call that? Your eyes, what do you call the Rajima? What's the term? Imagine the waves hit you hard on your face. What's the term they use? Blood red eye.
Irritating eye, red eye, Guruji.
Red eye. You'll have a red eye. When divers plunge into the water in the Olympics, there's I don't know what's the exact, Sanjay, do you know what's that exact sport called in I think, is it high dive, or they jump from a platform, a very high platform, and they do various I don't know what do you call it. It's not gymnastics, because it's gymnastics on the floor, but you do various I don't know what to call it. You know any idea, Sanjay? Anybody? What do you call that? Somersault. Yeah, they do various kind of somersaults, and they get the marks based on, you know that?
I know the sport you mean. I just call it diving. It probably is another word. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, but do you know where do they score marks?
On their rotations and performances during the fall.
Yes, the rotations does matter, but more so than the rotation is the
point of entry.
Yeah. What is the splash? How much water splash you create? Apara Garu, I think you had you wanted to say something earlier. I do recall I was mentioning about the example of one needs the rough surface to sharpen the knife. Similarly, if the world is challenging, if the world is demanding, you can't complain that why is the world that way, because that's the very nature of the world. But if you have this wisdom to check the monster within, to arrest your own unreasonable desires and expectations. And please mark that have qualified the word desire and expectation. It's all right to have a desire and expectation as long as you're reasonable. If you're reasonable, you know your family, you know your government, you know the city you're living in, you know your country, you know your professional demands, you know your team you're working with. So when you make that assessment and you make your expectations reasonable, you are all right to expect and then deal with it. So if you have the wisdom and assess it, even if the world is tough, it's only going to help you evolve and sharpen your inner personality. But one who does not know that, like we were talking about that art of diving, if you have perfected it, there is no splash. But if you don't know, you'd come up with a red eye. You know, it really hits you. The world hits you. I think that's where we lost the connect. I hope you're able to bring back the thoughts where we all last left. Yeah, Aparagaru, please, sir.
Guruji, when you started with likes and desires are your enemy. So when I'm trying to contemplate, it's very difficult to understand it and put it in practice, especially when there is an action. If you have to give 100% in action, your likes and desires have to should convert into passion. So, for example, Arjuna had passion for archery, and he did lot of he practiced and all. So, how can one's likes and desires, when they become enemy? Though I do understand, otherwise in daily life, yes, I do understand that likes and desires have actually become my own enemies in certain aspects. But without passion, without likes and desires, how can somebody take an action?
So I think you're talking two things here. When you say you take to a field which you're passionate with, Arjuna took to archery because that was his passion. I took to philosophy because philosophy is my passion. You may be a businessman because business is your passion. Now, whether the profession, whether it be a philosopher, whether you're a warrior, whether you're a businessman, you're a sportsman, doesn't matter. The passion is determined by your predominant nature, which is known as swadharma. That's your vasanas. So when you talk of passion, you get into a field which you are inspired because you find a bent of aptitude. Like, you can't take me away from philosophy. Not now. It's been my passion for the past 30 years, and it'll be so the rest of my life. And that's not going to change. You can ask me why I'm doing it, because I'm dead passionate about what I'm doing. You give me 2 people, I'll do this. You give me 1,000 people, I'll do it. It's not the numbers that inspire me. It's the sheer fact that I'm doing something which I love to do. That's me. That's one thing. Now, having entered the field which is your nature, the question is, what is the modus operandi? How do you operate once you enter the field of business or warfare or philosophy? You took the example of Arjuna. Arjuna took to a war which he prepared for 13 long years or 14 long years, whatever be the thing. Having known what he was getting into, at the time when he was to lead the battlefront as a warrior, as a leader of an army, he buckled. His emotions took over. He fell a prey to his own mind. He became emotional. And that is precisely the knowledge is addressing. We're not talking of the field of activity. We're talking about doing the right thing once you've entered the field which belongs to you. So having entered the field, you should not be swayed by the emotions. You should not be swayed by your own mind's whims and fancies. You may not like certain things, but irrespective of it, you find you're obliged, it becomes your dharma, your duty to do so, even if you don't like to do it. So there are two different things you are saying. One is the passion, is the field. Second is the modus operandi. How do you operate in the field you enter? So what we're talking about is how you conduct yourself in the fields you operate. You should not operate on the mind, which is your likes and dislikes, because they are your enemies. Why are they enemies? Because the world cannot satisfy what you want, man. And can't you come to terms with that? Has experience not taught you this lesson that the world cannot satisfy all that you entertain? Therefore, I need to learn to adapt to what the world is. I need to learn to gracefully accept what the world is and then measure my own expectations according to it. Has experience not taught you that?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, the knowledge only reiterates our own understanding, our own experience, that you need to align yourself to interact with the world. So when you want to listen to a specific radio station, are you not expected to tune to that, even to the decimal number?
Yes.
If it is 67.8, you need to tune it to 68.8 if you want to listen to that channel. You can't sit and say, why have they made it 0.8? It's such a cumbersome exercise while you're driving, especially to go to the decimal. Why can't they put 65, 70, 75? You can't sit and complain. You can complain, but you will not get the transmission. That's all. You have to accept the world has a nature of its own. You and I have to step aside and say, what is the world I'm living in? And take measurements and keep taking fresh measurements. You can't live with the measurements you took 6 months, 2 years ago. Now, is the world the same what it was 2 years ago to you, sir, today?
No, not at all.
Are you not expected to know what the world is and what the market is today?
Yes, I'm expected to know.
Don't you take the measurements what the weather is today?
Yes.
Would you wear winter wear in a couple of months from now if you're in Hyderabad?
I would not.
That's all I'm saying. Don't complain if the winter is hot. Adapt yourself to that. The summer is hot, the winter is warm, the monsoon is wet. You will be appropriately geared to meet what the world throws at you. And then you enjoy what the world is. To the extent you will go and say, the beauty of summer is its heat. The beauty of winter is its biting cold. The beauty of the monsoon, that it must pour and pour. You will start appreciating its beauty than wanting the world to be other than what, oh, this monsoon is very slushy. All the time it's become so messy. It becomes your mobility. You can't do any outdoor activity. You can't play a sport. You can't do this. You can't do that. Everything, traffic gets jammed. You're complaining, monsoon. Every time winter comes, my skin cracks. And I've got this problem all the time. I must keep applying layers and layers of lotion. You curse the winter. Right? Everything you are complaining and complaining. Either I sit and complain or I stand up and gracefully accept.
So Guruji, sorry.
No, please. My favorite word is therefore, so don't worry. I'll keep saying that.
So Guruji, I should understand in the context of vritti and pravritti. Pravritti is by nature what I am and what I want to do. Vritti is what I am doing in the for a worldly life. So where I should actually keep away from my likes, desires, and all, and do and enjoy the things. That's what it means.
Correct, sir. Your vritti is your material realm. What's the other word you used? Your pravritti. Your pravritti is your spiritual character. How you operate in the vritti is your spiritual personality. Your vritti is what you do. You can be a butcher, you can be a carpenter, you can be a farmer, whatever it is. But how you are in that vritti is the pravritti, that the inner personality is that.
Got it.
Beautifully summarized. Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Right. In fact, I'm happy to note Vijay Menanji, I think he is joining us for the first time, sir. Are you here for the first time today?
Yes, Guruji. Yes.
Namaskar. Sorry.
Namaskar.
I wanted to say that happy you are joining us. Then I was thrown out of the class, you know. So good. Where are you from? You're from
Bangalore. Bangalore.
Oh, Bangalore. Very good. Very good. You had somebody else along with you.
My wife. She has
Oh.
just come out.
Okay.
My wife. Her name is Lalita.
Lalita.
She's also-
Okay. All right. Good. Good. Please do come back
Sure.
for the sections. All right, sir.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Venkatramji.
Yeah, Guruji, this is a slightly silly question, but this is something which we struggle. And on the dining table, so the okra versus tomato, okra versus brinjal, what you mentioned. So here the mother kind of, is scolding the kid or saying that this is what you want. And the grandmother says, okay, I will prepare whatever you want. So I'm, trying to relate. So who has been more accepting of the fact that this is what that boy's nature or a girl's nature is? And then I would be into the grandmother or the mother. That is one question. But the second is, if he...
I need to understand the first question correctly, sir. What are you
So
getting at?
I did not understand whether the mother was, accepting, the grandmother was accepting the fact that everyone has got their likes and dislikes and I am going to tune to them. And while the mother was saying that, no, you have to eat this and then eat it, or then there is no choice. I think she was kind of forcing while the grandmother was giving the boy or the girl choices.
So whose side are you here? No, whose side are you? I want to understand your stance.
No, I'm confused. So I was kind of thinking that, who was right and who was wrong in this. And as Badriji was quoting, so who has conquered the whole aspect of saying that, yes, I would have a control on my desires and the world would not be like what I am and stuff like that. Because if I had to look at very objectively, I thought that the grandmother was also kind of more pampering the kid and the mother was trying to set. So there is some confusion. But this is a common thing, which at least I experience with my son and my wife experiences it on a daily basis.
Right. I think it's a very apt observation that you're able to relate to this context in your day-to-day life. This is what happens. And in fact, I did mention that right from an early childhood, young age, it's our own well-wishers that actually spoil us. Our own benefactors have constantly been giving in to our likes and dislikes. To a large extent, they keep feeding us. And today, when the child grows up and when the child has a certain demand or a want, the child is not going to sit quiet if it doesn't get what it wants. Because what have you done? You have fed a monster, and now the monster sits and says, you better give what I want, or I will do what I'll walk out of the house. See, that kind of, it comes with a vehement force. It's not an appeal. It comes with a vega. The Sanskrit word is the desire has now become an obsession. And thanks to our licentious nature of giving into the mind and kept on satisfying. And as I don't know who said that, I think Reddy Garu said that it's impossible to ever satisfy your mind. Badriji, I don't know, one of them were saying, Badriji was saying, I can satisfy the mind today, but it's not possible that tomorrow I satisfy. So the nature of the mind is insatiable. So the more you feed, it's not that you're satisfying it, you're actually making it a monster. So I would go with you that yes, the grandmother, she falls a prey to the emotion and gives into the emotion and feeds the likes and dislikes. But the mother, she says, if this is what is there, you all have to accept gracefully and enjoy and be a part of the totality. The thing is, if I am a part of the family, I must accept the larger interests of the family. That team spirit, that oneness starts there. So if I'm at the table, if this is being served for everybody, every member of the family, I am a part of it. I need to put my feelings aside and accept whatever is served because it is in the larger interest. That's the first thing I learned, is to sacrifice my personal interests for the other. Or just because I like a particular dish, I can't wall up the whole thing and don't leave for the rest of the family. So even that is being only self-centered and all the time thinking of yourself. So in that context, I said, it's also important that as a leader, as a parent, you yourself don't act on likes and dislikes or impulses. If you yourself keep saying, oh, I don't like that, I don't like this, the child tends to follow and emulate what the parents do. Absolutely. You get that? So they are just living up to their likes and dislikes, and they have a perfect example to follow and emulate what their parents have done. So it's important that if I want my child to do something, I do it myself first. If I want my child to eat bitter gourd, I must be a role model and example and eat bitter gourd in front of the child. And then don't lecture the child to eat. Just eat it. And it is there on the dining table. And then this molding starts from very young age. Very young age you start. And the child says, I don't like to eat it. You can just ask the child, what is it in you that says, I don't like it? And a child will say, oh, my mind says I don't like it. Then are you doing the right thing? What should you do? But my intellect says to eat it, but my mind says don't eat it. See, on a dining table, taking a bitter gourd as an example, you're educating a child that you can't afford to act on your mind's likes and impulses because it's something very healthy for you. The intellect tells you eat it, the mind tells you don't eat it. And if this education system instilled into your child through a lifestyle you have led as a leader, it invariably instills into them. It's not putting them in a satsang or a classroom and say, this is mind, this is intellect, and lecture to them. It's a value system that you ingrain and you bring it down to them. Great. But ultimately, it's the mind that is you're falling a prey to. And the world, the near and dear, they are actually done all the damage. You might actually blame them for that. I would blame them. Yep. Second question, sir.
No, I think this was a follow-up question on, I don't know. So we also say that the world is as it is, and everybody has got their likes and dislikes, and we should accept them as they are. So here in this case, if somebody is not liking an okra, so should we then say that, okay, I mean, it is his life and he's not? Because there again, we are trying to impose something what we see as the right thing. Is there some contradiction in? So I see eating everything is good, but then you probably feel that okra is not your cup of tea or you don't like to have it. Am I trying to impose you of saying that this is my like, but then this is what you also like? So that was a kind of a follow-up question.
Sir, when we talk about rationalizing or operating on reason, it doesn't mean you must do exactly the opposite.
Okay.
Just because I don't like it, it doesn't mean you're doing the wrong thing. Just because you like and do it doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that.
Okay.
Okay. As long as and also fair to say that it's not necessary that everything is palatable and everything is acceptable. It's each one has an individual aptitude or a taste.
Yeah.
So so therefore, where does it boil down to? What does it boil down to is at every point, you must rationalize with it. You must take a measurement. So it's experience by experience.
Okay.
Moment by moment. Because what is acceptable in a point the same thing may not be acceptable in elsewhere. Like the liberty you take at your home, you may not take a liberty when you're invited as a guest to a family. You may quietly accept it. You can't be fussy and trouble the host and say, no, I don't like it. And if that's the only thing that's presented, you have to be very gracious and happy to, and not get an implication that you don't like to have. Would you do that? No. But you may have the liberty at home and say, and the home understands your needs as well. But end of the day, again, the same example, you adapt yourself to different situations when you're being invited.
Okay. Got it.
It becomes disrespectful.
Yes.
So it is that applicability. So applicability means you must go with the intellect, as Badviji said, fresh measurements, and adapt yourself accordingly.
Got it. Thank you.
The famous example by Bernard Shaw. Yes, sir. Bernard Shaw says, he said the most intelligent man he met in his life was his tailor. And he said, why tailor? Because he said he's the only man who takes fresh measurements whenever I did go to him. Because, you know, he never went with past. He always lived in the moment, in the present.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Right. Thank you. Ramji.
Yes, Guruji.
All okay, sir?
All okay, sir. All okay. So I think what I understood is that it is the satisfied desires which become monsters, not necessarily the unsatisfied desires.
Why do you say that?
Because there is no, you will never be satisfied. A satisfied desire gives rise to more desires and more intense desires. I think that is how they become monsters, right? Unsatisfied desires may become monsters, may not become monsters. You may kill those desires also over a period of time. But satisfied desires, you know that you can satisfy them. There is a way of achieving them. There is a way of getting them fulfilled. They can become more monstrous. At least that's what I understood.
But, sir, what a desire and aversion, both what they do is they agitate your mind. Isn't it, sir?
Yes, sir.
When they agitate your mind, to that extent, it is monstrous, isn't it?
Yes.
Because when your desire is not met, when somebody doesn't talk to you or things don't happen the way you want, you're not peaceful and calm. You get very disturbed, isn't it? So to that extent, that mental agitation clouds your wisdom and your intellect.
That is the negative side, negative part of not fulfilling the desires.
Not fulfilling the desires. Therefore, they say that the raga, dvesha, both together add to. In fact, they are only saying raga, dvesha, but then you take the list of all the modifications of desire. Maybe when we come back next class, if Rajima, are you there? Or Gayatri, just take a note. Next class, when we come back, we will just briefly run through all the various modifications of desire and how it creates a mental agitation, which is sin. I'm using the word sin here because in the next mantra, he talks of it. He talks next mantra that a man who has gone beyond the dvandvas and he's liberated from sin. So it is safe to say that if you operate on your likes and dislikes, you go through mental agitations, which tantamounts to committing a sin because it causes mental agitations.
I would, in the next class, perhaps we can also see, Guruji, because in one of the earlier classes, we talked about this unselfish and selfless desire being harmless, in the sense they take you in the right direction. And it is a selfish desire, which is a wrong relationship with the desire or wrong relationship with the world, which actually becomes a monster. So that differentiation also, maybe we can go a little more detailed.
Deeper. No, absolutely. I would request you to kindly bring it up, please.
Sure, sir. Sure.
We'll take up these two elements. One is the modifications of desire, and then this question, because this is actually the solution to the problem.
Right, right.
The solution is, how do you rise above the desire and the modification, is to work for an unselfish cause. That actually checkmates your mind.
Yes, sir.
Which is exactly the intellect. The intellect comes in because you conceive an ideal or purpose. Then you go beyond the mind's avarice or greed to grab and more for itself. Then you adopt a life of sacrifice and serving. And that's how you destroy the monster. In fact, I'm having spoken of monster, I just want to conclude with this quote by Shakespeare. I can't recall which play it is, but he says, jealousy, he says, as a green-eyed monster. Jealousy is a green-eyed monster. It mocks the meat it feeds on. We'll take this quote again as well. Sometime a while ago, we did discuss this.
Yeah.
Katrima, so remind me of this quote as well, please, if you can. Jealousy is a green-eyed monster. It mocks the meat it feeds on. So beware of the monster. Beware, whenever you look yourself in the mirror, you say monster. That's all. Correct, Ramji, because we are saying the monster is within me, no?
Absolutely.
You don't look at others and say monster, you will be in deeper trouble.
Absolutely.
Like Ramji, after the class, you don't go to Ushama and say monster. Then I am not responsible for the consequences, please. Ushama, I am not suggesting that at all. Huh? I am only telling Ramji to look in the mirror.
I tried it earlier with the disastrous results, so I won't do it.
Okay, then there's a lot of wisdom there then.
I'm wiser by experience. Yeah.
Oh, sir. Yes, sir. So please give us that little wisdom. I also can practice in the house, sir. All right. Okay. I think we have just spilled a little bit because we lost a little time, but anyway, we'll come back. Thanks for your patience. Okay. Hurry up. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.